we had a brilliant art director on this film, Brian McEntee, who really brought a tremendous amount to the look of the film. And Gary, you can weigh in here too, but the feeling of the film, the costumes. One of the nights I remember fairly late at night, we were having pizza and some type of alcoholic beverage, and we were designing Belle's ballroom dress that night. And it was, Gary said, yellow's nice. And Brian said, well, how about a blue and gold thing? Because the blue and gold was very much kind of compelling colors together, and it felt like a royal kind of regal ball. And it just dawned on me, there's like just a bunch of guys eating pizza deciding what every girl's gonna wear at Halloween for years. It was sad. But thankfully, it worked out, and we had people like Lorna Pomeroy-Cook on the crew and Brenda on the crew to actually give an intelligent point of view about what those characters might actually wear. The ballroom itself was an outgrowth of trying to move the camera and get the audience swept away. And Roger, you storyboarded that sequence, I think. So maybe you can speak on that more intelligently than I.
Oh, and Brenda too.
And Brenda too.
Well, it was interesting because we storyboarded it first, and we're thinking ahead to how could we use this space. This was a new freedom for us, really, because prior to this, I can't think of any. Well, yes, I guess Basil had a clock environment that he ran around in, but generally we didn't have environment. This was the first time we really did an environment that we'd linger in, and so it was kind of exciting to think about. All right, how can we move the camera, and what's going to give this its swirl? What's going to give it its lift? Speaking of lift, I decided, let's go up to the painted ceiling. Let's look at them from above the chandelier, and that was.
Yeah, and then he was up there in the clouds, and I moved the camera down, and that's the swish of her skirt goes over. He was up there, I was down here. I don't know. But it was incredible. But I think the other thing that was freeing was because we sort of talked to the animators a little bit about it too, because that's always the worry when you move the camera around too much. It changes the angle and the characters, which I know can be a nightmare. But they said, we're game. So we went for it. It was great.
The CG guys actually put in, I remember, like a triangular, like a pyramidal shape to represent Belle when they roughed out
They actually
the
said,
ballroom.
Jim Hillen, who's here tonight, actually was like nutty enough to say yes to this whole idea.
Yeah, and the beast was like a plinth, he was like a rectangular, and these two like are sliding around this. And then somehow magically, I think especially James...
That was Baxter.
Baxter, thank you. James Baxter, who is so brilliant with moving figures through space. I don't know, that guy just has a computer mind. He can, because the camera's moving and they're moving, and he's amazing.
Amazing piece of animation.
Yeah, and then it's emotional too. It's not just whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. It's not just like flying your jet fighter around in the room.
Can I add something? Isn't that the first time that we ever saw that done with animation? I don't remember ever seeing a scene as huge as that, with those the figures moving around.
Yeah,
I remember at the time when we first saw it, it was astonishing. It really was.
Yeah,
so
it was 4 or 5 years before the Toy Stories of the world, and now we have the computing power that it took to do that scene on our cell phones, probably. But we always had a backup plan. We had a backup plan that if the render didn't work, we would do what we call kind of an ice-capades plan, and it would be a single spotlight around the two characters dancing, and we would just turn off the ballroom. But thankfully, our computer guys made it work, and you can actually see the whole ballroom now. So, thank you, Jim. Thank you, Scott.